Hello, I'm Mark,
Casey.
and today we're going to talk a little bit about some reliability of some Tesla vehicles. But first, let's roll that title. How's everyone doing out there? Hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Tesla reliability, and of course we've touched on this topic before on some
Yesterday
other
or
videos.
2 days ago.
Yeah, and we talked about a vehicle that is in, I believe it's Europe. Yeah, it's Europe, and it's got close to 2 million kilometers on this vehicle. But it has replaced like 8 batteries and 14 motors over
Yes.
that period of time, that Model S. But today, we got news from Teslarati about this particular UK Model S that is still running on its original battery and motors, and it's now ticked over the 430,000 mile mark. So that's impressive. I'm nowhere near that. Casey, and what's your Model X sitting at?
It keeps scraping at 100,000. This work from home kept it from crossing the barrier.
So you're in no danger of hitting 430,000 anytime soon.
If you ask my battery, I sure am. Every time I tow, I use anywhere from 2 to 4 times the miles.
That's true. Towing does take it out of the battery for sure.
Yes.
You lose the range. But
Yeah.
this particular UK resident from Chesterfield, UK, he was recently featured on an Auto Trader segment about his 2016 premium Model S that he uses for an airport taxi over the years. So he's driving people to and from the airport, and he obviously, as many of the early Model S's, have unlimited supercharging, and he uses that often and regularly to keep the taxi cabs charged. So it's not a surprise that if you had the free supercharging option, that you would use it often, and of course your warranty is covering the vehicle, so you're quite happy to do that. You're not too concerned with the health of the battery. Now, his battery, he indicates that he's lost about 60 miles of range over the period of time that he's owned the vehicle on an original battery that came with this Model S. So you can live with that. Like that's not too bad. And of course, he's not driving cross country. He's just using it basically as an airport shuttle. Now, obviously, he is traveling different lengths, but with the superchargers that are around him, he's able to do it quite easily. And in fact, he's been so successful with the vehicle. It's saving him, he believes, somewhere in the range of 7,000 to 10,000 pounds a year, which is about $9,000 to $12,000 a year.
And U.S. dollars.
U.S. dollars,
not the loonies.
Not the loonies. No, not even the toonies. But it's obviously working out well for him because, of course, he's purchased another Model S and is using that as well. So he's got a couple of vehicles that are doing the airport runs, and he finds it something that works really well for the business that he has. So
is he charging the new one to 100% as well, or just the original?
It doesn't say about the whether he's charging the second one to 100% or not. But certainly with the loss of the 60 miles, he's now charging the first one to 100% all the time.
Yeah, I'm down 20 miles in 2 less years.
Okay.
A whole lot less miles.
Yeah, that's an understatement. But it is interesting that we have seen others that are using, for example, Model 3s for ride-sharing cars. There was a recent one reported on that bought a used Model 3 rear-wheel drive
All
And
battery.
it was on the Kim Java show,
Yeah.
where she debuted, talked to this gentleman who was running rideshare, and he basically got to the point where the battery had to be replaced. He was exclusively supercharging the vehicle. He would charge when he could at home for the first run, but then when he was on the road, he would be doing multiple shifts, and he did have to charge the vehicle by supercharger. And it started out that he only had to do one or possibly two superchargers a day. But as time went along and he got some degradation in that battery, he was doing it multiple times a day. And eventually it probably burnt out the battery because he was doing it, two, three, maybe even four times to get through a day. And that was just too much for that LFP battery to handle.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it right there. Is one, he's got the different chemistry, and two, he's got the small battery. Whereas this record setter and me, we've got the largest battery they offered during our times, and there's a lot more cells to spread that power over the degradation. It's just a lot less stressful on our batteries. It's like an adult that normally eats mildly spicy food. You can probably put an extra pepper in there, and they wouldn't mind. But if you give a kid a habanero or a ghost pepper or something worse, they're gonna notice it.
Yeah, and they're gonna notice it is right. I wouldn't want to have that situation on my hands.
Oh no, absolutely not.
But but yeah, this is somebody else that has been using again. This car has been in use for since 2016 when he bought it brand new. And so we're talking 8 years of constant airport runs, and of course supercharging here and there as well, pretty regularly, especially when it's being used. It's definitely being supercharged at least once a day. So that is like as Casey said, it's application. Yeah, you need to know what the application of the vehicle is so that you can get the right vehicle for that job. If you're doing it constantly, if you're going to need the larger battery in order to take that abuse, and of course the early Model S's, they were covered under a generous warranty that no longer is available to vehicles like the Model 3 or the Model Y. So
any new vehicles.
You definitely need to know what the limitations are of the vehicle before you put it into that type of a scenario where that type of mileage is going to be used. Because ultimately, we see from the guy that owns the European 2 million kilometer vehicle, we can see that there are situations that will ruin those batteries and those motors. They're out there, and depending on its use case, you will run into those eventually. It is going to come up if you keep putting the mileage on it like that.
Yeah, the three of us, Mr. Millions of Parts and Mr. Millions of Miles and myself, we have 8 years unlimited miles on our warranty for the battery pack and the drive motors. But everything else for all of us is out of warranty for the longest time now. You had 4 years, 50,000 miles, bumper to bumper, and they did do some repairs and upgrades on mine under goodwill, as if they were still under that situation. But there were other times they're like, yeah, give us $800 right now.
Yeah, so it's something that you need to be aware of when you're buying the car as to what it can actually take and what you're actually covered for. You don't. This is not like the old days. And of course, if you do have one of those unlimited mileage vehicles that you get free supercharging with as well, then you're probably going to run it as long as you can because it just makes sense to spread out that cost over a longer period of time. The vehicle wasn't cheap in the beginning. The S and the X were certainly premium priced cars. So keeping it for 8, 9, 10 years certainly is advantageous to an owner, especially who's using it like these airport drivers. Casey, you're not any type of a rideshare person. You do a lot of trailer pulling, but
Yes.
and I'm certain that the free supercharger helps out with that.
It certainly does.
Yes, but you're planning to keep that Model X as long as possible.
I am.
Would
Yeah.
I be correct in that?
You're very correct. Yeah, so I wrote an article on the hvnomads.com site the other day where I said, I do want the Cybertruck, but at this point in time, without the extended battery pack, my car and the Cybertruck would be able to go the same effective distance until we get a lot more superchargers. The Cybertruck might be able to get maybe 20 more miles on me. Uh, it can definitely tow more, but with the aerodynamics of my rig, we're going the same distance before we got to plug in. And in one, I'd be paying for the charge, and the other, the Tesla pays for the charge.
Right.
So right now, I'm not in a rush to get that Cybertruck. I mean, I'd love it because the Model X is the worst car I've seen in terms of reverse turn circle. Like when you're in reverse, it's like, wow. and I really lusted after that four wheel steering because I think that would be something awesome. But at the same time, what would probably be like a $20 supercharge session. Like I just plug in and go, and probably about 55% of my car's lifespan has been supercharged, and then the other 45% has been either at home, free at the mall, at the grocery store, just opportunity charging wherever it presents itself. But I'm not a normal supercharger. I do it, but I can go as many as 5 or 6 supercharge sessions in one day because of the way that I drive. And most people, when they supercharge, are looking at 1 or 2, and then they're done because it's a lot of driving to need the second supercharge.
Yep.
But I'm down 8% battery life, 20 miles off of what it was when it was new. So I mean, you can notice it, but it's not. If you just use your route planner, it'll by route planner, just use the navigation, and then don't second guess further than it says because it's just getting better at what it does. Although, if you're towing, don't be afraid to second guess it shorter and just take an extra charge if you feel that it's going down a little quick, because it does take a minute for it to realize, oh, there's still something back there. I guess I should probably account for it.
I'm going to be curious to see as time goes along if we're going to start hearing some longer mileage stories from North Americans that are in the Model 3 or the Model Y as they're using those for ride shares as well. Not a lot of stories out there about those yet, but I'm sure that they're starting to come, just like the Kim Java presentation about the one gentleman that's had a battery replaced already in his Model 3. So as time goes along, I'm sure we're going to start to hear more of these stories.
Yeah, if you're using it for business like that, I would say get as much battery as you can afford. If it's for personal, then I'd say don't fret over what battery you get. Just make sure it can cover the bulk of your daily driving, and then you can supercharge the rest. But if you're going to need to supercharge a lot, get as much battery as you can afford. So if you can afford a mid-range, but you want to get the short range, get the mid-range. And I think that you won't find yourself as readily in a situation as that guy on Kim's channel.
Yeah,
and his may still have been a fluke, but like I said earlier, you're just spreading that stress out over hundreds more batteries.
More cells. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I think we'll wrap it. Casey, any shout outs from you as we fade out today?
Yeah. So I want to catch you all live on the Tesla Live show, same time on Wednesday. And we'll catch you there.
Coming up shortly. Thanks so much to Lee Moon that we use the music for the shows. And we will see you on Wednesday live. Good night, everyone.
Good night.